Hi there, viewers. Today, I'm joining a conversation with author Paul Mello, the author of Electric Breakfast and quite a lot of other novels. It's a pleasure to have Paul on the show. Welcome on the show, Paul.
Thanks, Peter. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's great, mate. Good to
Yeah,
see you.
absolutely. So, Paul, could you tell us about your horror novel, Electric Breakfast? How does this book come about? I mean, what inspired this book?
This book,
Yeah, I love the design. That's beautiful.
it's a beautiful cover. I'll tell you more about him as we go along, I think, because he deserves to be talked about. It's a collection of short stories, actually.
Okay.
It's my second collection. Um, it's just a collection of years and years and years of just plugging away, really, just sending stories out, getting enough to put together and collect. My first collection went down very well. This one, not sure. It's early days, but it was a long time in the making. It takes me a long time to write. I don't have a lot of time because of my job, but it's just lovely to have it. It's a beautiful book. The
Wow.
publisher was a joy to work with. Yeah, absolutely thrilling. It's probably my favourite book,
Oh,
but he's my youngest, so I suppose I'd say that.
oh. That's great to hear about that, and even to know that it's your favorite. Now, I want to ask you, for readers like me who haven't read Electric Breakfast yet, I haven't loved the title. Without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we had expect picking up the book?
Sure, it's dark fantasy, horror, slipstream, magic realism. Doesn't really fit into the pure horror category, I suppose, but it's an experience, I suppose, of the imagination, my imagination. Hopefully, people can get in and sort of enjoy a bit of that. The title comes from my work. I'm a senior community mental health nurse, and that's what I've always been, and probably what I'll always be. To use electroconvulsive treatment, ECT. Back in the day, they used to call it an electric breakfast. They used to get these guys up early, and they used to take them down, and they used to give them electric shock, and it was just it's quite coarse, but it's the title of a story in the book, and hopefully I deal with it sensitively. The character has a mental health history, as do quite a lot of my characters. So that's where the title come from.
Oh,
The stories kind of follow that theme, really.
oh, that's great. That's quite fantastic to know. You know, Paul, from reading the description page of Night Clock on Amazon, it sounds quite enthralling to me. And I would also love to hear from you as to what inspired it.
Right. Night
Night
Clock's my
Clock.
first novel. My first novel,
Oh,
again, it took a long time to write. I never really intended writing a novel,
oh,
but I'd been writing a series of short stories that seemed to interconnect. People started to pick up on it, want more. So I thought I'd explore it in a novel, a bit of world building.
mm,
So I used the book as a bit of a repository for my journey, my feelings, how I wanted to really express myself. And I guess that's where writing and creativity should ultimately lie, I suppose, in that area, unless you're hacking it out to make a living. I've always wanted to just write what I wanted to write. And it was a therapy for
mm,
me. And of course, its main theme is mental health, really, and
oh,
people that are struggling, people that are lost, how they can find each other, values of friendship. I hope it's a hopeful book in the end. Yeah, it was a struggle to write, to be fair,
yeah.
but I just took my time with it. And I was very lucky that I had a very good friend, Jonathan Oliver, who was the commissioning editor at Rebellion at the time, who had said to me years ago, if you ever write a novel, I want to be the first person to see it. And I laughed it off, but obviously I did send it to him as a rough draft, and he loved it. So he tidied it up, put it out, and it did okay. It split the audience, which is great.
Oh.
Good reviews, got some scathing reviews. Fair play, good.
That's great.
So that's the story behind it, really. It's deep fantasy, though. It's very dark, but hopefully real people emerge from it.
I even love the fact that it has a bit of mental health touching in it. That's quite fascinating to know.
Yeah, the main character's a mental health nurse. He kind of holds it all together. He's perplexed by everything that's going on as well, so nothing new there. A bit like me on a daily basis. People read it in the right spirit, it's not didactic. It's not meant to, preach or tell a story. It's in terms of, to try and be educational, but I hope that people get some insight, perhaps what it's like on the darker side of things. Life's dark enough, really.
Yeah. That's great to know. I also want to ask you, as authors, we all have different ways of reacting to feedback. And I'm curious to know your opinion about criticism. How do you react to negative criticism of your book?
It hurts a bit, doesn't it? Nobody likes it, but I think I get it. I totally get it. And I don't write stuff to please people. I write stuff to please myself. And I know that I push the envelope a bit.
I love that.
It's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's not going to be. So rightly so, people are going to say what they think. I was always lucky with my short stories. And on the whole, people like my short stories. That's fine. Didn't go to a massive wide audience. My first collection, people liked on the whole. So when I published The Night Clock, I got great reviews, and I got some really real stinkers, some bad reviews. And so that was interesting. I was, not surprised, bit disappointed they didn't like it for their sake in a way, but then perhaps they got something out of not liking it. I don't know. You don't have to finish a book if you don't like it, but honestly, it doesn't bother me now. It really doesn't, because it just doesn't matter. It's great to have good feedback. People love it. They go, "Oh, I love your book. That's great. That's great." But if someone hates it, what can you say? Just make the next one even more offensive.
Yeah. Yeah, because I even see that even the best of books have some negative reviews. Absolutely. And I've seen some on my own works also, which I just laugh over it and said, okay, thank you.
What can you do? What else can you do? I mean, I know some people get angry. They'll write back or they'll respond to it. It's like,
yeah.
It's all part of the journey. It's all humbling, what it should be. It's not going to make me change. I'm going to change the way I write.
Absolutely. So, Paul, could you also tell us about your book, Dormant of the Storm? I'd love to know about that too.
Sure. Miss Bailey, this is the sequel to The Night Clock. So when I wrote The Night Clock, I guess there were some cliffhangers. And I was still writing short stories set in that world. It wasn't going away. And I just started writing it again one day. Just thought, well, I'm going to see what happens. And I don't know if it was going to be a short story or a novella. And it just kind of really did take off. Never really intending to write a sequel. And then about 3 or 4 chapters in, it was obvious that it was going to be a sequel. I think it's a better book than The Night Clock. I think it's tighter. It's more linear. Makes more sense. The Night Clock's a mess. Not my editor or publisher's fault at all. They were very kind to publish it as a kind of stream of consciousness that I sent it to them as, which is another reason why I think a lot of people didn't like it. But it's a better book. It's got the same characters in, they just develop more, and it ties up a lot of loose ends. I do ask a lot from my readers, whoever they are, wherever they may be. It helps to read all my stuff, and that's not a plug, it just does. They're all kind of like the two collections, bookend the novels, so you can kind of read them in any order. You get the backstories a lot more in the short stories for the characters that are in the novels. So whether that works as metafiction or whatever you call it, I don't know. It's just how I wanted to do it, really. So yeah, so when I finish the Dormant, I'd love to write another one, but I don't think I ever will. I was happy with it, but it's sort of sunk without a trace, really, again, unfortunately. But I like it. I think it's a good book.
Yeah, that's great. I'm wondering if you can show the cover to the camera again. You can show the book again. Yeah. I love all of those designs. They're quite amazing.
Well, that's a good intro. I would like to mention the guy who does my covers. His name's Ben Baldwin. I think he's probably, my opinion, probably one of the finest cover artists, illustrators in the business. And I was really lucky. I think really at the start of his career, he illustrated some of my stories, and we connected. And he did the cover to the Night Clock. Then he did the cover to the reprint of Islington Crocodiles. He's done all the covers to my books.
Wow.
And he just gets it. It's like I said to him, I've never met Ben, by the way. It's funny, we've just emailed. He's a lovely guy.
Oh.
And he just says, I said to him, it's like you go into my mind, you see it how I'd really like to describe it. I can only describe it so much. And then he does these pictures, and I look at them and I think, oh, you just got it. But that's how I saw it. It's a remarkable, it's a piece of luck, really, that, you've had that. And so at that point, I would like to mention this, which is Ben's book, Refractions. And this is Ben's book of unique art. They're not for book covers or anything. But the reason I'm showing you that is because he asked me to do the introduction for it.
That's a work of an artist there.
He's astonishing. I mean, he could have asked Stephen King to do the introduction to his book, but he didn't. He asked me, and I put that down to the connection that we just had over the years. And I did my best. I did him an introduction. He seemed to like it, but honestly, that was incredibly highlight of my writing career. That was, he's so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's actually obvious from the works he has done. I'm also curious to know if you've experienced any challenges while writing your books. If there's any, could you share with us, what challenge it is and how you ultimately overcame it?
I suppose you touched upon it a bit earlier. It would be my job, my career, what I do Monday to Friday and weekends, to be fair. Early, late shifts. I work with a crisis team as well, so it's quite tiring, exacting work. It can be pretty grim, it can be pretty dangerous, it can be pretty unpleasant. But on the whole, it's a great job and I love it, and I love the people I work with. It takes up all my time. I tried not working for a year, 4 or 5 years ago. I just published, I think, Night Clock, and I wanted to work on something else. And I thought, well, I've just relocated to Devon. I got a few quid. I'll try to see what this writing for a living lark is like, and I just 6 months, well, less than that, I was pacing around. I was procrastinating. I just wanted to get back to work. I missed people, missed the job, it's in me. So I think I'm a nurse who writes, I don't think I wouldn't honestly want to do it for a living, Peter. It would be too insular. But the drive's still there. The creativity's still there. Wanting to write when I feel like it is there very much. It comes and goes, but I'm still writing, so that must mean something.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge is time
Mm.
and motivation. And, I'm on the laptop a lot of the time. I don't want to come home and open one and write. I just want to sit with my family or have a drink,
Mm.
So writing very much it takes second place in my life, to be fair. And I know you want this to be an inspirational interview, but that's how I do it, and it works for me. Is finding the time to write what you want to write when you want to write it.
Yeah. Yeah, I also understand that time is even one of the greatest factor when it comes to writing. Someone who do not have the time to write would not write. So you just have to create a time, and time is a major factor when it comes to writing, and that itself can be a challenge. Now, I was also going to ask you if you could share with us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself. What are the challenges you've encountered in terms of marketing your book? And what are the mediums you feel to like so far in terms of promoting all of your books?
Right. This helps, obviously. Making connections helps a lot, but I don't go looking for them particularly. I found that things come along. The right people come along. Nice people come along. And if they're interested, they're interested. That's really good. And if I'm interested, then yeah, I'll engage with it. I don't publicise myself. I have a Facebook page I barely look at, which I will put up something new. If I have a book out or a story, I might put that out. I don't have a web page. I tend to let things kind of work out, to be fair. I wouldn't want to be the kind of writer that was so self-absorbed that I had to get up every day and immediately think about how am I going to make myself relevant? How am I going to stay relevant? How am I going to, publicize myself? What am I going to do? And the whole day is about yourself. I mean, I'm very, very aware of not particularly wanting to magnify myself. I've got so much else going on. I think I'm on dodgy spiritual ground trying to magnify yourself. I just don't want to go there. So I wait and see what happens. I've been lucky, blessed, if you like, with what I have. I don't particularly go looking for stuff, Peter.
Oh, that's great. That sounds quite, amazing to me. Paul, what do you have coming up next? Are you currently working on another book?
I suppose I am slowly, and I think it will probably be my next collection.
Okay.
But I've got about 6 or 7 stories, so I need more. And I couldn't not tell you when they'll be available because I don't know what they are yet. They're not, but I think I probably will aim for another collection because I love them. I think they're just great fun to do, and they're great fun to work with the publisher on. They're less grueling than a novel, for instance. So yeah, there'll be that. I've got a couple of novellas on the go. One of them probably isn't publishable because I'm just doing it for myself. It's a bit out there, but I might stick it in the collection. And another one, which I've been working on for years, called The Pier, which is a post-apocalyptic novella about a guy, fisherman, who survives the end of the war on a fortified pier. So there you go. It's the kind of things I think about. It's because I live by the seaside, you see.
Wow. You've had a lot of manuscript, a lot of work ongoing.
Stuff, yeah, it's still going. It's still going. No deadlines, which is great. Nobody wants them.
Oh, that's great. I was also going to ask you if there's anything you'd love to share with the viewers about your books that we couldn't mention in this interview, and you'd love the viewers to know.
Well, I suppose I did again mention, sort of like just touch upon it, that they are part of a sort of a whole world. You can read them as standalone books, I believe. I wrote them in that way, but I think if you could be bothered, if you wanted to, if you like them enough, best to get the best out of them would probably be to read all 4. Possibly with the short stories bookending the novels, and then see what you think. I mean, I've got friends obviously that have read them all, and they like them, and they particularly like the way the world is built and the fact that you can dip in and out of it. Like I said, it's metafiction.
Yeah.
That's so pretentious, but it sort of is really. Or it might be another word for chaotic rubbish, but people seem to like it. But no, that's what I think. If you give someone an insight, say they go well together. That's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. As a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book? What sort of advice would you tell people in this category?
Oh, I'm so the wrong person to ask for practical advice, but my life advice would be, in terms of writing, definitely make friends. Make friends. Go to conventions. Be nice. Be kind. Be humble. And be generous. And the right people will come along. Keep writing. Write what you want to write. If someone asks you for a story, you're very lucky. So give it your best shot, but write what you want to write. If they don't like it, they don't like it. That's it, really. Make friends, be kind, see what happens.
That's a great one. I even love your advice you've given out, and I'm sure that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it. So, Paul, where can viewers get a copy of your book? Where is it available for purchase? What platform can we get it?
Amazon. So wherever you are in the world, Amazon whatever, it's available. They're all four of them are available on Amazon Kindle. You can go to the publisher, which is Montag Press. It's Californian. The guy's called Charlie Franco, the editor, the owner. He's amazing. Okay. I love working with Charlie. So there's Montag Press, Books Worth Burning. You can look that up, as in Montag, as in Fahrenheit 451. You can go to his website and order them directly from him. Otherwise, you might see one in a shop, but I doubt it. That'd be like a Marie Curie or something, Anyway, that's it, really.
That's great. That's great. And I left a link in the description part of this interview to a boost page on Amazon for viewers who would love to get a copy of the book. Thank you very much, Paul Meloy, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's a pleasure having you here.
Peter, it's been absolute fun. Thank you. Thank you. Charmed. Stay in touch.
You're welcome.